What if the heaviest weight you are carrying is not the life you are living, but the life you think you missed? Have you ever noticed that strange, hollow feeling when you look at the calendar or see someone else succeeding, and a quiet voice whispers, "You are too late. You missed your chance." There is a strange kind of exhaustion that comes from grieving a future that never actually happened. If you have ever felt left behind, anxious that time has slipped through your fingers, or emotionally drained by the ghost of the person you were supposed to be by now, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may completely change how you see the time you have left. 1. The illusion of too late and the heaviness of the unlived life. We all carry a phantom alongside us. It is the ghost of the unlived life. The decisions we did not make, the risks we were too afraid to take in our 20s or 30s, the relationships we stayed in too long, or the ones we walked away from out of fear. When we realize how fast time is moving, panic sets in. We start trying to calculate how much time is left. We worry that we waited too long to pursue what actually matters. We feel a deep, aching regret for the years spent merely surviving, pleasing others, or walking a path that was not our own. But here is the truth few people want to face. The tighter you hold onto the timeline you thought you would have, the more you suffer in the present. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our suffering comes from attachment, but we do not just attach to physical things or people. Often, our deepest and most painful attachment is to an expectation. We cling to a rigid idea of when things were supposed to happen. We create a story in our minds about where we should be, and when reality does not match that story, we feel entirely lost. Imagine standing barefoot on the bank of a river. The water is flowing constantly, rushing rapidly toward the ocean. If you reach your hands in and try to grab the water that has already passed you, you will catch nothing. Your hands will come up empty. And yet, while you are desperately reaching backward, trying to catch water that is already gone, you are completely missing the fresh, clear current flowing right over your feet. Time is that river. You cannot grasp what has passed. Think about your own life. How much of your current anxiety comes from looking backward? You scroll through your phone and see peers reaching milestones you once dreamed of. You look in the mirror and notice the subtle changes, feeling a sudden, sharp pressure that you are running out of runway. You tell yourself, "I should be further along by now. I should have figured this out." This thought does not help you move forward. It paralyzes you. It steals your energy and wraps you in regret, keeping you entirely disconnected from the only moment where you have any actual power. Ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? Which missed opportunity is playing on a continuous loop in your mind? Is this thought bringing you peace, or is it just feeding your fear? Pause, breathe. Notice the heavy expectation you placed on your younger self. Observe the thought of being too late without following it down into the dark spiral of regret. You did what you knew how to do at the time. You survived. You learned. Stop punishing yourself for not having the wisdom then that you only possess right now. The unlived life is a heavy burden, and it is time to put it down. You do not have to carry the weight of every path you did not walk, because peace is not found by wishing you could rewind the clock. It is found by making space for the life that is actually here. But letting go of this rigid, imaginary timeline is only the first step, and this is where the next truth begins, because beneath the fear of being too late, there is a phantom of lost time waiting to be understood. What if the time you think you wasted was never wasted at all? Here is the truth. We often grieve for a ghost. We mourn a version of ourselves that exists nowhere except in our imagination. You look back at your life and start doing the math. 5 years in a relationship that ultimately fell apart. 3 years in a job that drained your spirit. Countless months lost to anxiety, overthinking, or simply feeling numb. You calculate this time and immediately label it as wasted. You feel a deep, heavy sorrow for the years that slipped away. You wonder who you would be today if you had just made different choices, if you had woken up earlier, if you had walked away sooner, if you had been braver. In Buddhist thought, the mind is a master illusionist. It constantly pulls us away from reality, dragging us into the heavy, shadowy realm of what if. But Buddhism reminds us that time cannot be owned, and therefore, it cannot be lost. It can only be experienced. The suffering you feel right now is not because of the years that have passed. Your suffering comes from clinging to a phantom, a fantasy of what those years should have produced. Imagine a seed buried deep in the earth. For a long time, it sits in total heavy darkness. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. It looks like wasted time. It looks like stagnation. But in that silent, heavy darkness, the hard outer shell is slowly breaking down. The roots are pushing deep into the unseen soil. It is doing the quiet, painful work of survival. If you dig up the seed to demand immediate growth, you destroy it. The darkness was not a mistake. It was the necessary preparation. We often treat our own lives with less patience than a seed in the dirt. You think the years you spent healing from a heartbreak, struggling with fear, or wandering without direction were a detour. You think you fell off the correct path. But what if those difficult, messy years were your darkness? What if that was the exact time your roots were growing deep, slowly building the strength, the empathy, and the quiet resilience you possess today? Think about your own life. What chapter of your past are you still judging? What years are you labeling as a failure, just because they did not look the way society told you they should? What are you afraid will happen if you finally forgive yourself for those years? Pause, breathe. Do not fight the grief when it arrives. Let the feeling of sadness rise without making it your permanent identity. You are allowed to feel sorrow for the pain you went through. But do not let that sorrow convince you that your life is ruined. You did not waste your time. You spent it learning how to survive. You spent it discovering what you cannot tolerate. You spent it breaking down the hard shell of who you thought you were, so the real you could finally emerge. Because true growth is rarely loud, and it is almost never perfectly timed. But trusting your own season of growth is incredibly difficult in a world that constantly demands immediate proof of your worth. And this is where the next truth begins. Because the phantom of lost time is almost always tied to a much deeper illusion. 3. The myth of being behind and the trap of comparing timelines. Have you ever felt a sudden, hollow drop in your stomach when someone else achieves exactly what you have been praying for? You scroll through your phone late at night. You see a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger reaching a milestone you desperately want. A wave of panic washes over you. Instantly, a heavy shadow falls over your own life. The quiet voice returns, louder this time. They figured it out. Why haven't I? I am running out of time. I am so far behind. But here is the truth. The feeling of being behind assumes there is a single, universal track we are all running on. It assumes there is a finish line we all must cross at the exact same age. You cannot be behind in your own life. It is spiritually impossible. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the practice of observing the mind's tendency to create illusions. We suffer because we cling to the illusion that our path should look like someone else's. When we compare our current, messy reality to someone else's shining destination, we violently reject our own life. We create our own misery. We build an invisible prison out of expectations and lock ourselves inside. Imagine two clouds drifting across a massive, open sky. One cloud moves rapidly, pushed by a strong, high-altitude wind. It sails effortlessly across the horizon. The other sits much lower. It moves slowly, hovering over a single valley, gathering moisture, turning dark and heavy. It seems stuck. It seems behind, but it is preparing to release a quiet, steady rain onto a dry, barren field below. Is the slower cloud behind? No. It is simply moving at the exact speed required for its own purpose. If the slow cloud tried to race the fast one, the field would never get the water it desperately needs to survive. We constantly judge our pace without understanding our purpose. Think about your own life. You see someone else's victory. You see the relationship, the career, the financial stability. You measure your quiet, behind-the-scenes struggles against their loudest, most visible triumphs. You punish yourself for not moving at their speed, but you do not know the hidden winds pushing them, nor do you see the silent storms they are secretly battling. When you constantly compare your timeline to others, you are like a bird trapped in an open cage. The door is wide open. The sky is right there. But you refuse to fly because you are too busy watching the other birds, convincing yourself you do not know how. Ask yourself, whose timeline are you secretly trying to copy? When you say you are behind, who are you actually looking at? What are you afraid will happen if you accept exactly where you are right now? Pause. Breathe. Notice the heavy, suffocating weight of comparison. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. You do not have to compete with anyone. Release the need to measure your worth by a clock that someone else invented. Stop looking sideways. Reclaim the energy you are wasting on jealousy and fear. Do your part, then release the outcome. Let your life unfold at its own necessary speed. Because peace is not found by running faster. It is found by stepping off the racetrack entirely. But stepping off the racetrack requires something even more difficult. To truly embrace the life waiting for you, you must first grieve the one you are leaving behind. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. Letting go of the person you thought you would be. What if the hardest goodbye of your life is not to a person you loved, but to the version of yourself you expected to become? Here is the truth few people want to face. We spend years building an invisible monument to our future selves. When we are young, we draft a rigid blueprint. We imagine the exact career we will have, the kind of home we will live in, the respect we will command, and the unshakable confidence we will possess. We create a perfect, untouchable character in our minds. But then, real life happens. You experience a devastating failure. A long-term relationship completely breaks down. You face a quiet, exhausting burnout, a sudden loss, or a profound change of heart. You wake up one day, look in the mirror, and realize you are nowhere near the person you promised yourself you would be. And instead of feeling compassion for the incredibly hard things you have survived, you feel a crushing sense of shame. You feel like a deep disappointment to your own younger self. Buddhism reminds us that the root of our deepest suffering is clinging to a fixed identity. We mistakenly believe that our self is a permanent destination we must eventually arrive at. But Buddhist wisdom teaches that the self is entirely fluid. It is constantly dissolving and reshaping. When you cling desperately to an old, idealized image of yourself, you go to war with reality. You reject the living, breathing person who is standing here right now, demanding that they turn back into a phantom. Imagine a strong young tree growing perfectly straight, reaching upward toward the sun. It expects to be the tallest, most flawless tree in the forest. But a massive, unexpected storm rolls in. The brutal winds snap its highest branches. The heavy rain forces its trunk to bend toward the earth. The tree does not break, but its shape is permanently altered. For years, the tree might quietly mourn the straight, perfect shape it lost. But in bending, its roots grew thicker and pushed deeper into the dark soil. It learned exactly how to survive the wind. It became a different, much deeper kind of beautiful. You are that tree. You expected a straight, easy path to success and perfection. But the storms of life arrived, the grief, the daily stress, the betrayals, and the silent, heavy nights of feeling completely lost. They bent you. They changed your shape entirely. You look at your life today, you look at the quiet, messy reality you live in, instead of the loud, perfect dream you once had. You focus only on the broken branches. You completely ignore the massive, powerful roots that are currently keeping you alive. You hold on to the blueprint of a life that was never built, and it blinds you to the immense strength you hold right now. Think about your own life. Are you punishing your present self for not living up to a dream you dreamed 10 or 20 years ago? Ask yourself, does that old, perfect version of you even make sense for who you are today? What are you afraid will happen if you finally say goodbye to the person you thought you would be? Pause, breathe. Acknowledge that old dream. It is okay to feel sadness that things did not go exactly as planned. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Thank that past version of yourself for giving you hope when you needed a direction. And then, gently, release them. Stop trying to force yourself into a shape you no longer fit. You do not need to be the person you thought you would be. You only need to be the person you are today. Because true peace begins the moment you stop fighting your own reality. It is the moment you finally lay down the heavy armor of expectation. But accepting your present self requires us to deeply understand the true nature of change. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The Buddhist truth of impermanence and seasons of growth. What if the very change you are fighting so desperately is the exact thing meant to set you free? Here is a painful but necessary truth. We spend a massive amount of our energy trying to freeze time. We want the good moments to last forever. We want our youth to remain untouched. We want to reach a state of absolute certainty and lock the door so nothing can ever change again. When life inevitably shifts, when a relationship ends, when a career suddenly falls apart, or when we simply wake up feeling older and undeniably different, we panic. We feel a profound sense of loss. We interpret this natural change as a personal failure. We believe that because something ended, we must have done something wrong. But in Buddhist thought, this resistance to change is the very root of our anxiety. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the truth of impermanence. Everything is in motion. Nothing in the physical or emotional world is built to last forever. Our deepest suffering does not come from the fact that things change. It comes from our fierce, exhausting demand that they stay the same. Imagine a massive, ancient tree in the middle of autumn. A strong, cold wind sweeps through the forest, pulling the dry, yellow leaves from the branches. The tree does not panic. It does not try to catch the leaves as they fall. It does not tighten its branches and fiercely resist the wind, believing that losing its leaves is a sign of failure. The tree lets them go completely. It understands a silent, ancient rule. Winter is not a punishment. It is a necessary season of rest. The tree knows that it must let go of the old leaves to make room for the new growth that spring will eventually bring. We rarely offer ourselves the same grace. Think about your own life. You enter a quiet, difficult period where your old passions fade. A door closes on a career you spent years building. The friends who once surrounded you slowly drift away. Instead of seeing this as a natural shifting of your seasons, you panic. You look at the bare branches of your life and feel a terrifying sense of emptiness. You spend all your remaining energy trying to glue dead leaves back onto the tree, hoping no one will notice that the season has already passed. You worry that you are running out of time, but you are simply refusing to live in the season you are actually in. Ask yourself, what dead leaves are you still trying to hold on to? What relationship, what identity, or what old dream are you gripping so tightly that your hands are bleeding? What are you afraid will happen if you finally let the cold wind take it away? Pause, breathe, observe the fear of change without letting it control you. You do not have to hold everything together. Let the old season pass without becoming the storm. Allow the bare branches to sit in the quiet. You are not failing. You are simply shedding what is no longer meant to go with you into the future. Because true peace is not found by building walls to stop the wind. It is found by learning how to stand beautifully in the changing weather. But accepting change often requires us to look back at the choices that brought us here and face the heavy guilt we carry for our past mistakes. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Forgiving yourself for what you did not know then. Have you ever looked back at a major decision in your life and felt a sudden, hollow ache in your chest? You replay the memories on a continuous loop. You see the warning signs you completely ignored in a relationship. You remember the exact moment you stayed silent when you desperately needed to speak up. You think about the years you spent shrinking yourself, people-pleasing, or walking a path you did not even want. And when you look at how much time has passed, the quiet voice in your head turns vicious. How could I have been so blind? I should have known better. I ruined my own life. Here is the truth. We are often the most ruthless, unforgiving judge of our own past. Buddhist wisdom teaches that compassion is not just a gift we offer to others. It is a profound duty we owe to ourselves. We suffer because we demand a level of perfection from our past selves that was completely impossible at the time. We judge our old actions with our new awareness. But Buddhism reminds us that awareness is not something you are born with. It is something you earn. And unfortunately, it is almost always earned through the exact pain and mistakes you are now punishing yourself for. Imagine waking up in an entirely dark, unfamiliar room. You try to walk toward the door, but you stumble. You hit your knees against heavy furniture. You scrape your hands against rough walls. It is painful, exhausting, and confusing. Finally, after a long time, you find a small candle and light it. The room is instantly illuminated. But instead of feeling relieved that you can finally see, you look at the bruised skin on your knees and become absolutely furious with yourself. You scream, "Why didn't I just walk around the table? It was right there." You are angry at your past self for bumping into the furniture in the dark, using the light you only have now to judge them. This is exactly what you do when you carry the heavy guilt of your past choices. You survived a difficult chapter with whatever emotional tools you had at the time. You stayed in that draining relationship because you were seeking love, and you did not yet know a healthier way to find it. You ignored your boundaries because you were afraid of being abandoned. You chose the safe, unfulfilling path because you were terrified of failing. The light you have today, the deep, hard-earned wisdom you hold right now, was bought entirely by the stumbling you did in the dark. Think about your own life. Are you using today's wisdom as a weapon to punish yesterday's ignorance? You worry that you waited too long to change, but you could not have changed a single day sooner. You did not have the light yet. Ask yourself, what past version of you is desperately waiting for your forgiveness? What are you afraid will happen if you finally put down the weapon of regret? Pause, breathe, observe the guilt without following it. Let the heavy memory rise without making it your identity. Place a hand over your heart and silently thank the younger version of yourself. They did the best they could with the light they had. Stop holding them hostage. You are not the mistakes you made in the dark. You are the light that finally turned on. Because peace is not found by constantly rewriting the past. It is found by accepting that the past is entirely complete. But forgiveness is only one part of the journey. To truly step into the life that remains, we must face the undeniable reality of what has been permanently lost. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Making peace with the doors that have closed. What if the most courageous thing you can do is finally walk away from a door that is permanently locked? Here is a truth that is incredibly difficult to swallow. As time passes, certain doors in our lives do close. a career path we can no longer pursue, a relationship that is irretrievably broken, the chance to have a certain kind of family, the boundless, reckless energy of our youth. We hate finality. We want to believe that every option will stay open to us forever. When we realize that time or circumstance has firmly shut a door, we feel a suffocating panic. We spend years standing in front of it, rattling the handle, begging for the universe to open it just one more time. In Buddhist thought, suffering is not caused by the closing of the door. The closing is simply the undeniable nature of reality. The suffering is caused by us standing there, bloodying our own hands against the heavy wood, refusing to accept that the room behind it is gone. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that acceptance is not defeat. Acceptance is the deep, spiritual realization that what is gone is truly gone, and that continuing to fight it will only destroy your present peace. Imagine walking down a long, quiet hallway in a beautiful house. You reach a heavy door at the very end. It leads to a room you have dreamed of entering your entire life. You reach out, but the handle does not turn. It is locked. You pull out every key you own, trying to force the lock. You push, you kick, you wait. You spend years staring at this single piece of wood, paralyzed by grief. You become so consumed by the locked door that you do not notice the hallway you are standing in. You completely miss the warm, bright light pouring out of 3 open doors right behind you. We do this with our own lives every single day. Think about your own life. You obsess over the missed opportunity, the lost love, or the years you spent waiting for a breakthrough that never arrived. You worry that you waited too long, and because that specific door is closed, you falsely believe your entire journey is over. You define your whole existence by what you no longer have access to. You completely ignore the life, the people, and the quiet blessings that are standing right behind you, waiting to be noticed. Ask yourself, what locked door are you still standing in front of? What old dream are you demanding entry to, even though it no longer exists? What are you afraid will happen if you finally turn your back to it? Pause. Breathe. Look quietly at the door in your mind. Acknowledge that you wanted it. It is perfectly okay to grieve the loss of it. Let the sadness rise without making it your identity, and then, gently, pull your hand away from the handle. Stop trying to force the door open. You do not have to conquer the locked door. You only have to walk away from it. Because true freedom does not come from having every option available to you forever. Freedom begins the exact moment you turn around and stop fighting the past. But walking away from what you lost is only half of the journey. Once you turn around, you must decide what to do with the time that is still yours. And this is where the next truth begins. 8. The quiet power of choosing what remains. What if the most beautiful chapter of your life is not the one you originally planned, but the one you consciously choose right now? Here is the truth. When we finally realize that time has passed and certain doors have closed, we often fall into a very dangerous emotional trap. We begin to believe that whatever time we have left is just a leftover. We feel like we are simply settling. We walk through our days with a heavy sense of resignation, secretly thinking that because we cannot have the grand, perfect dream of our youth, nothing else truly matters. We stop trying, we stop engaging, we let ourselves quietly drift. But in Buddhist thought, the present moment is the only place where true power exists. Clinging to what is lost strips you of your energy and your agency. Embracing what remains is an act of profound spiritual courage. Buddhism reminds us that deep peace does not come from having a flawless, perfectly timed life. It comes from bringing a perfect, gentle presence to the messy, entirely imperfect life you actually have. Imagine a potter sitting in a quiet, dusty room. They spent hours trying to mold a massive, flawless vase, but the clay was too wet, and it completely collapsed. It is now late in the day. The sun is setting. It is too late to start the giant vase over, and the clay has already begun to dry. The potter could throw it all away in a fit of frustration, mourning the masterpiece that failed. Instead, they gather the clay that remains. They quiet their mind. They use their hands to carefully shape a small, beautiful bowl. The bowl was not the original plan, but it is real, it is useful, it holds water, and it is created with total presence and profound care. We often throw away the remaining clay of our lives, simply because it does not look like the giant vase we once dreamed of. Think about your own life. You look at the time you have left the years ahead, the quiet evenings, the relationships right in front of you, and you diminish them. You tell yourself, it is too late to do anything great. So you stop being present. You stop nurturing the friendships you actually have. You stop enjoying the simple, quiet peace of an ordinary morning. You waste the time that is still yours because you are secretly angry that it is not more. Ask yourself, are you punishing your present reality because it is not the fantasy you originally wanted? What are you doing with the clay that is still in your hands? What are you afraid will happen if you finally pour your whole heart into the quiet life you are actually living? Pause, breathe, bring your attention entirely to this exact moment. Look at the life that surrounds you right now. Do not judge it. Just notice it. Stop measuring your worth by the massive things you did not build. Gather what remains. Take a deep breath and commit to the time you still have. You are not settling. You are actively choosing to live. Because true peace is not found by wishing for more clay. It is found by shaping what you hold today with absolute love and attention. But choosing what remains leads us to the final, most profound realization of all. And this is where the final truth begins. 9. The ultimate freedom of this exact moment. What if the peace you have been desperately searching for is quietly waiting for you to simply arrive? In the beginning, we talked about that heavy, exhausting fear, the quiet, terrifying whisper that you are too late. You spent years carrying the massive weight of the unlived life, grieving the ghost of the person you thought you were supposed to be by now. You stood outside locked doors, begging them to open. You punished yourself for stumbling in the dark, and you convinced yourself that the time you spent merely surviving was completely wasted. You looked at the timeline of your life and felt a deep, hollow panic that you missed your chance. But look at where you are right now. You are still breathing. You are still here. The heavy weight you have been carrying is not your actual life. It is only an expectation, and an expectation can be dropped the moment you recognize it is not real. Buddhism teaches us that the past is only a memory and the future is only an illusion. The only place where you can breathe, heal, or love is right here, in this exact second. You cannot be too late for this moment, because this moment is entirely brand new. It has never existed before, and it will never exist again. Think back to that river we spoke about earlier. For so long you stood on the bank, frantically reaching backward, trying to catch the water that had already rushed by. Your hands were always empty, your heart was always exhausted. But now, you realize you do not need to catch the past. You do not need to rewrite history. You can simply step fully into the water that is flowing over your feet right now. You can let the fresh current hold you. You did not miss your chance at life. You only missed the rigid, imaginary story you wrote in your head. And letting go of that story is not a tragedy. It is the ultimate freedom. You are allowed to start from exactly where you are today. You are allowed to be a beginner at 30, at 40, or at 70. You are allowed to take the clay that remains in your hands and shape it into something small, beautiful, and profoundly yours. The darkness you sat in was not a waste. It was exactly where your roots grew. The storms you survived did not break you. They simply taught you how to bend. Ask yourself one final time, what if there is absolutely nothing wrong with where you are right now? What if you are not behind, not too late, and not a failure? What if you are exactly on time for the life that is actually yours? Pause, breathe, let the timeline completely dissolve. Let the ghost of the unlived life finally rest. Forgive yourself for what you did not know then. Turn your back to the locked doors, reclaim your energy, gather the remaining clay, and choose this beautiful, messy, entirely imperfect moment. You do not need to be anywhere else. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. Let life meet you where you are,